Small business owners really actually do need to worry about the AI ethics in PPC because of the consequences of ethical failure. A lawsuit, public backlash, they're much more damaging to a small business than they are to a large corporation. I think oftentimes when we think about ethics, we think about large businesses because we realize the small businesses, those are the bad guys. Those are the ones doing XYZ. We're small, we're better. But the risks to your business, they aren't abstract. They're tied directly to your reputation, compliance, and frankly, wasted ad spend. So I really think as a small business owner, it's really important that you pay close attention to this because big businesses are thinking about it, and your reputation is a risk that is existential. For a small business, trust is ultimately your most valuable asset. Hands down. A single ethical misstep can actually wipe out years and years of goodwill with your customers. If you get public backlash or you're highlighted somehow, and your PPC ads are somehow flagged for showing bias disproportionately to different segments of the population, it's not something that's going to look good. And unlike a large company that can tend to absorb hits, a small business, they may not fully recover. And so today's episode is going to be all about this risk of AI on small businesses, because I really feel like small businesses have fewer resources to fight lawsuits, pay fines, and this makes AI and the compliance failure a critical threat. So today, we're going to get into it. Today, we're talking about ethics and AI. Pause. Hello, and welcome back to the Google Ad Strategy Hub podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Stemen, and I'm so glad you're tuning in for this today. We're diving into a topic that's becoming more and more critical every day for anyone running paid ads, and that's the ethical dilemmas of using AI in your PPC campaigns. Now, if you're a business owner or manager, you've probably heard about AI's incredible power to optimize campaigns. It can lower your costs, it can boost your performance, and it's all true. AI in Google Ads and in ad platforms has become an absolute 100% game changer. But as we hand over more and more control to these incredibly smart algorithms, we take on new responsibilities. It's like we've been given this super button and super high-powered car, but we still need to know how to steer it ethically to keep our customers' trust. In this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to break down what this really means for you. We're going to make it digestible for the small business owner. We're going to talk about the invisible hand of AI and what happens when the goals don't quite match yours. We're going to tackle the tricky subject of data privacy in the age of this hyper-personalization. I'm constantly talking on this channel of right ad, right time, right place, but we want to do this without being creepy and invading our clients' privacy ultimately. We're also going to discuss how to stay in the driver's seat, how you can be in control, ensuring transparency and accountability. And finally, we're going to wrap up with a practical framework, something a lot more prescriptive that you can start using today to build ethical AI considerations into your own PPC strategy. It's not about scaring you away from AI, like I said, making in the intro, I don't want you to feel like a sitting duck and vulnerable, but I do want to empower you to use it smartly and responsibility and bring awareness to this topic. So grab a coffee, let's get into it. All right, let's start with the idea of the invisible hand of AI. For years and years as PPC specialists, our job was very hands-on. We were in the trenches. We were choosing the bids. We were writing the ad copy, and we were manually adjusting where our campaigns showed up. In the episode yesterday, I talked about something where it was geo bid modifiers, where we were in full control. And so if I saw a certain city wasn't doing well, I could modify that bid and not show that. Features like Performance Max and automated bidding strategies, AI is doing that heavy lifting and putting in those modifiers for me. It can optimize campaigns at the speed and scale that no human absolutely ever could. And on the surface, this is amazing, right? It frees me up from making all those hands-on decisions. And it gives me time to focus on high-level strategy for my clients. But here's the catch. The automation could easily blur the line of control. When you set a campaign goal like maximize conversion and the AI takes those instructions and runs with it and makes thousands and thousands of micro decisions behind the scenes to achieve that goal, the ethical dilemma arises when AI's single-minded pursuit of the goal leads to unintended consequences. Example, in order to maximize conversions, an AI might learn that it gets the best results by aggressively targeting a vulnerable demographic. Or the opposite, AI might learn that it gets the best results by only serving the ads in high income areas. This can be extremely detrimental for an industry like insurance, where redlining is an issue, or financial services, where everybody is entitled to have access and should have access to those ads, but they're not being served in low income areas. Or potentially you could be showing your ads on brand inappropriate websites. And it may not just be brand inappropriate websites, it could be political blogs, it could be beside ads that are talking about something that is set up to not be optimal for your brand. AI isn't evil. It's really doing exactly what you told it to do by giving it the goal. But without that human context or that ethical judgment or the ability to pull off a certain website, our role really has to shift. We're moving from being tactical executors to ethical overseers. It's no longer just about setting up that campaign and letting it run. You need to be able to monitor it with a critical eye and be asking, is the AI achieving this goal in a way that aligns with my brand's values? I think about a local plumber. If you are running some type of display ad or some type of upper funnel campaign that is around brand awareness in your community, what if it only went to high income areas? That's obviously not ethical, as other, medium to low income may also need a plumber. They're not having access to your services. Another scenario here, I talk about the blogs. Would you want to only be servicing one political demographic? I mean, it's things like that you are giving up control of when you are choosing some of these automated campaigns. And I think being aware of this and being aware of where this can go in the wrong direction is something that's mission critical, especially for small businesses. So what you need to do as a business, you need to be able to recognize when the AI's goals might diverge from what's best for your business and your customers. You can still pull geo reports. You can look at them. You can be aware. A classic example is when AI pushes spend towards cheap, low-quality traffic because it generates a high volume of low-value conversions, right? So this is a great example of AI pushing. The numbers might look good in your dashboard, but they aren't really the customers that you really want. So this would be another example of where the AI itself is pushing in the wrong direction, not necessarily showing in the wrong direction. The new responsibility for us as business owners and marketing is to really define those ethical guardrails before we let AI take the wheel. This means using negative keywords, placement exclusions, audience settings, not just performance, but for ethical controls. So maybe you want to deliberately run in some of those neighborhoods that are underserved or that do not have as many service providers, because you know that your service is absolutely valuable there. But again, it's about reviewing those reports, even if you're not making the decisions on those reports. So then the next topic, and again, we talk about this all the time, and you see this in sort of the media writ large, but I don't know that anyone really knows how to deal with it at this point. And the fact that big businesses are sort of talking about it in a philosophical way means that small business should still pay attention, even if they don't necessarily have the answers. So this is something that actually I would say should hit home for all of us, and it really is privacy. AI is fueled, and it's absolutely fueled by data. It's probably crawling my YouTube video to put it in AI somewhere. The more data AI has, the better it really can create those personalized ads that feel like they're reading your mind. I talk a lot about mining Reddit. I talk here about mining, even something like Amazon reviews. But when you think about Reddit, and I'm going to use Reddit as an example, that person, because they have that obscure username, is probably under some type of illusion privacy when they're ranting online, even though that is absolutely not private and can be absolutely tracked. But it's just something to really, really think about. So from a marketing perspective, this unfiltered is really the holy grail. But can we deliver the perfect message to the perfect person at the perfect time, leading to higher conversion rates, but still be ethical about it? This puts us into, a place where we are walking on a tightrope. Think about it. AI can actually analyze your browsing history, your behavior, your location data, your demographic information, and build incredibly, incredibly detailed information. That is when we hear things like Google and Broadmatch takes into account thousands and thousands of different data points. I mean, this is really what it's doing. I don't think we like to think about it, but we have given over and signed away by using Google's products our browsing history, our purchase behavior, our location data using Google Maps, our demographic information. And Google has this information behind it. So it can predict what you're going to buy next. Sometimes you don't even know this yourself. And so the ethical questions here are absolutely huge. How much personalization is too much? Where's the line in between being helpful as an advertiser and being ultimately creepy? And so platforms like Google obviously have their own privacy policies, but the responsibility doesn't end there. As advertisers, we are part of this ecosystem. We have a duty to balance our business goals, like getting a lower cost per acquisition, with respecting a user's autonomy and right to privacy. So there are regulations, obviously, like the GDPR and the California Privacy Rights Act, that are the legal floor, but not the ethical ceiling. So what can you do? First, be transparent. Put your privacy policy on your website, and it really shouldn't be a 50-page document of legal jargon that a customer cannot explain or understand. They don't have to explain it, you have to explain it. And you, as the advertiser, should explain it in simple terms about what data you collect, how you're using it for advertising. And then second, empower your users. Make it really easy for them to opt in or out. Make it easy for them to manage their data preferences. And most importantly, put yourself in that customer's perspective and think about what you would do if you were in their shoes. Would you be comfortable with another company using your data in a way that you're using theirs? If the answer is no, then it's time to rethink your strategy. A short-term conversion simply is not worth the long-term loss of trust. Trust, absolutely, for small businesses, is going to be the most valuable currency you have with your customers. So the next point is going to be a big one, especially for anyone who works at agencies. And I have a lot of clients now that are working at an agency and they're calling me for consulting, or they're just starting in paid search and they have to report performance to a boss. And it goes up to something that I said earlier um, about the data that you're bringing in. And I'm talking about transparency and accountability. So one of the big challenges with AI campaigns like Performance Max is they can feel like a black box. You put your assets in, you put your budget in, and the conversions just come out in the other. And remember at the top where I talked about getting low quality conversions? So you, as the person in charge of paid search, could easily put time on site or a scroll as a conversion and just say, oh, look, we're converting a lot. That's very, very irresponsible. And explaining that how and the why the AI made certain decisions can be incredibly, incredibly difficult. And so it's easy to just take the low road, right, and put in an easy conversion and just tell the client, like, oh, look, it's converting. I don't know what your issue is that you're not seeing business on the other line, and they're not smart enough in Google Ads or, versed enough to be able to tell the difference. And so they're left very confused, paying the bill and feeling like something's off with them. So if a campaign suddenly stops performing or starts spending money in a way that seems odd, how do you end up explaining that to your boss? You can't simply say the algorithm did it. It's not going to cut it. And this is where accountability comes in. We can't just blame the AI when things go wrong. We are the ones who launched the campaign. We are the ones who put in those conversion goals. So we need to establish clear lines of accountability. When AI makes a questionable decision, like running ads on a YouTube channel, who ultimately is responsible? The platform, the advertiser, and the answer is we are. It is on us to have systems in place to catch and correct these issues. This means we have to make an effort as an industry, when we're speaking with the platforms, when we're advocating for ourselves, and within the models that we're using, is to make our best effort to understand the AI models. At least, at the very, very minimum, we have to understand them on a conceptual level. You don't need a PhD in machine learning, but you should understand what inputs AI is using, what signals it values, and what levers you have to guide it. You need to look at the insights and reporting available within the ad platforms. You need to look at the clues that the platforms like Google Ads are providing. And you really, really need to think about where your ads are showing, which audience are performing best, and if that makes sense for your business. It's your job, working at the agency or reporting up to a boss, to translate AI's actions into a coherent story for our stakeholders. It's our responsibility not to put those low conversions on and than just say, oh, look, it's converting. This is what builds trust for an entire industry and shows that even an automated world, there's still smart, good, strategic humans guiding this ship. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of challenges. So let's bring it together with some very proactive, practical steps that you, the person in control running Google Ads, can take. And really the ultimate goal being building an ethical framework for PPC. So first and foremost, create your own ethical guidelines. Before you actually launch your next campaign, sit down with your team or sit down in a quiet moment by yourself and create a simple document. You know what success looks like beyond just the metrics. What audience would you not want to target? What types of websites are really actually off limits for your brand? What level of personalization feels right for your customers? Write that stuff down. That becomes your North Star and where you're pointed. And then second, commit to continuous education. The AI world is changing incredibly fast. Use AI in your own life. Use AI to ask questions. Get familiar with what the AI looks like in your personal life, outside of your work life. Ask it to meal plan for you. Ask it to do XYZ. Start to learn and continuously educate yourself on how AI is working and the use cases for it. What is considered the best practice today might be outdated in 6 months. For example, I use AI right now to see what my daughter's dance costume might look like. I plug into it. This is what I want it to look like. This is the vibe. This is the song. And it plugs something out. And a lot of custom costume designers end up having a huge, huge problem with one, it working on kids in that way. And two, with the fact that they feel like they are not ethically going to copy a design coming out of an AI platform. There's also like an insulting level of saying like, oh, this is what the computer generated. Can you go and make this? It takes away their creative autonomy. So stay curious. Listen, absolutely listen to podcasts like this one. Read industry blogs. Participate in webinars and have ongoing conversations with your team about the ethical side of PPC marketing. Also, champion human oversight. Frame your use of AI as a partnership. The AI handles the data crunching, the doing, the automation, while humans have to be in control of the strategic direction, the creative thinking, and the ethical judgment. This human in the loop approach, it's not just good ethics, it is a competitive advantage and it's your protection. Your competitors might be blindly letting the AI run the show, but you're going to be using it in a more intelligent and responsible way. And you are the one that's going to be building a stronger, more trusting relationships with your customers. And finally, the last part, and I say this probably again in every video, is to test and learn. When you see an ethical issue, don't just fix it and move on. Document it. Document why it happened and use it as a learning opportunity to refine your guidelines and improve on your paid search processes. By taking these steps, you're going to be protecting your brand from risk. You're also going to be building a more sustainable, trustworthy business for the future. And that's a wrap today on our deep dive into ethics of AI and PPC. I know this was a bit of a softer episode, and I really hope that you listened all the way to the end, whether you are a business owner or working at an agency or reporting up to a boss. And my hope is that you're leaving today feeling more prepared, more empowered, and not overwhelmed. Remember, AI is incredibly powerful, but it's just that. It is a tool. It is up to us to wield it with wisdom, major integrity, and deep respect for our customers. By putting ethics at the absolute heart of your AI strategy, you are not only doing the right thing, you're doing the stronger, more resilient, moral thing for your brand. All of the resources and concepts that we discussed today, are something that are constantly evolving. I'd love to hear your thoughts, what your ethical challenges are, and what you're seeing in your AI campaigns. You can find me on LinkedIn, Sarah Stemen. You can find me in the comments down here. You can find me all over the place. You can book a coaching call if you want to talk about this more in depth for your specific scenario. And I really appreciate you for tuning into the Google Ad Strategy Hub podcast. Until next time, keep testing, keep learning, and keep building those campaigns that you can be proud of that help you sleep better at night.